Now, just one for the roads, maybe another to keep friends company. By then, some people are so drunk they're creating a nuisance.
Now, Brits are increasingly taking their bad behaviour on holiday, and it's all fuelled by alcohol. The Foreign Office has released its latest figures on Britons getting into trouble abroad.
There were 230 British people arrested in Greece last year, with just over 1,900 people needing consular help.
Yes, and Spain recorded 2,032 arrests. That's up nearly a third on the previous year.
Well, let's talk to Simon Calder about this. He's the Independent's travel editor, and also to Lee Watson, who used to be a Club 1830s DJ and is still a regular on the DJ scene, both home and abroad. Very good morning to you. So, Lee, you've probably seen some pretty bad behaviour.
Yeah, I certainly have. When I worked abroad, it was for about 4 years, and I worked for the tour company Club 1830. Working over the season, obviously, when people do get very drunk, then you do get, you know, scenes of what obviously you're reporting on. But I must stress, I think it is definitely the minority and not the majority that causes all these troubles and all these problems abroad. I work at the Syndicate in Blackpool, and every single weekend we have thousands of people come from all over the UK. They're celebrating stag do's, birthday do's, and they drink all day long. Now, I think what the difference is, when you get to a nightclub in England, in Blackpool or Manchester, wherever it might be, if you're already too drunk, then you won't be allowed into the venue because the door team will stop you getting into the venue. As when you're in the venue, if you're too drunk, you'd be asked to leave nicely. When you're abroad, in all these different resorts, the problem is they don't have major security firms, so they will still serve you whether you're going to the bar very drunk or not, because they're just trying to make the money.
Right.
And they offer so many drinks prices, 2 for 1 and a free shot with this drink. You've got PR saying come in here and you can drink this much and get a shot and do this, and they'll make you drink as much as they possibly can.
Simon, I'm just trying to find a thing. I know you travel a lot, but have you experienced this kind of travel? I mean, do you know what goes on in this situation?
Course, look,
why is it getting worse?
I'm all in favour of everybody travelling as much as possible and having a great time where they get there. But you've got to know your limits. And Lee, you can't say, oh, it's the bar's fault, they're encouraging us to drink. All they are saying is, oh, you want a cheap drink? You've come to the right place, pal. Have another one, have another one, have another one.
I think the point that Lee's trying to make, is it not, is that you go to Spain and the Spanish authorities locally, they sanction bars doing 4 for 1 offers, for example, and then afterwards they're saying, well, isn't it awful, we're having to arrest more British holidaymakers. Well, there's a link, isn't there?
Well, there is, and I hope that actually the link with this incredible increase of 1/3 actually signifies that the Spanish authorities are cracking down more on our appalling behaviour
So you've seen that
rather
as a
than us getting even worse. I mean, we have got such a terrible reputation. I was in Quito, Ecuador, where plastered on the side of an expatriate bar is a big sign, a couple of people having a set to, and it just says, a pint and a fight, a great British night. That is 6,000 miles away. And of course, closer to home, we've got an even worse reputation. And Lee, look, the Scandinavians, the Germans, the Dutch people who I meet abroad are simply not in the same league as us.
But when I was working abroad, yeah, all right, the British have this mentality, but we work very hard here in England. They work all year round for this 1 or 2 week holiday. They go there, they let the hair down, and they just really have a good time.
Do you think the psychology that you're talking about is that when you are abroad, you can behave differently than you can at home, i.e. worse, and maybe if you get arrested over there, it doesn't really matter.
Or it's a badge of honour in some ways.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, when you do go abroad, you do let your hair down more because, you know, you're away from your family and your friends, and you go out there and you just think, right, I'm going to go out, drink as much as I can, have a really good time and just enjoy myself. And then when you do go over your limit, like Simon's saying, if you do know your limit, then you might stop. But if you do go over that limit, that's when you do find the occurrence of people, you know, laying on the street asleep, etc. But I do believe that, I think now, the North Wales Airlines, which making people go abroad for a lot cheaper, is a worse way of doing it. I think if you go with a tour company, i.e. Club 1830, that's just obviously who I work for, the reps are there to look after you, and you've got a friendly face to speak to. When you get there, you're told which bars are good, which bars to go to, which not to go to. You're given a pathway to go, like don't hire a motorbike.
Can I just give Simon a last thought? If you were other than one of these sort of 1830s type people, and you go to one of these resorts, Well, what can you expect? Why don't you just stay away from there? I mean, is it harming anyone else in a way?
Oh, well, it's harming our reputation, it's harming the people who are getting stupidly drunk, and they've really got this attitude that you can behave disgracefully abroad and get away with it. These figures show you can't. But for everyone else who's going off and having a fantastic time in France and Italy, we're actually just having a terrific time. You can avoid these places. I think it'd be much, much better actually to crack down on how we're behaving.
OK, Lee, Simon, there we must leave it, but thanks very much indeed.
Thanks very much.
Just approaching 7:20.